So we can do that. And whenever you're ready, take a sip of water. That's good. I like that. Cool, delicious water. I have my own cup here.
Yes.
With the Green Bay Packers. See?
Put that away. Garbage. Trash cup right there.
Thank you. It's the appropriate reaction for a It's appropriate reaction for a Vikings fan. Thank you. Okay, so whenever you're ready, go ahead and take one on the promo.
Oh, you're ready for me to do a promo? Okay. Vroom vroom veer, right?
Vroom vroom veer, right?
Vroom vroom veer. Okay. Hi, my name is Sunday Burquist from Grit Girl, and you're joining us on Vroom Vroom Veer.
Yeah.
How many more do you want me to say? What else do you want me to say? I forgot the end.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Really?
Yeah, that's great. Yes. Okay. And I'll probably use this whole thing. So, okay.
Oh, okay, perfect. I love it.
I have to hit stop. I'll be right back.
Are you ready to thoughtfully steer away from your revved up, frenzied, and far too often scripted life? Then welcome to Vroom Vroom Veer with Jeff Smith, where he guides you down the road differently traveled by sharing unique experiences with guests who have managed to shift away from a life stuck on cruise control and veered their way into a more authentic and fulfilling one in all sorts of interesting and kind of remarkable ways. Get ready to Vroom Vroom Veer with your differently traveled road chauffeur, Jeff Smith.
Cody Byrns, thank you so much for being on Vroom Vroom Beer and welcome to the show. How's it going?
It's going great. Thank you, Jeff, for having me. Glad to be here.
And thank you for sounding awesome. You've got some amazing sounding podcasting equipment over there or something. I don't know what it is, but thanks. I like a nice quality audio on the other side of the on the other side of the show here. So talk a little bit briefly about CodyByrns.com and what you're most excited about in your business today.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm just launching really big into the corporate market as far as speaking, doing more of that. And then as well, I got a podcast of my own starting up this fall. We're going to call it Show Me Your Scars. And we're also, we have a burn foundation. And so we're constantly raising money for that. I am currently looking at a couple different burn units, one specifically in El Salvador, and the other one is in South Africa that we're going to be able to sponsor and help children that have encountered severe burns. And so that's just a little peek into what's happening. And of course, there's all kinds of things. My mind's always going. Right. How can I make the biggest influence and grow? And, I have a lot of great mentors. And so I'm on the right path.
It sounds like you're having fun too.
Oh man, I'm having a blast.
Right? That's amazing. When we say that, I shouldn't say like life is never perfect. I think we get sort of like into that zone of, you're having a blast, but it's still life, right? I mean,
absolutely.
It's never perfect, right?
No. Oh no.
And we'll get into that because this is Vroom Vroom Veer. So let's go back in time, like pre-2013. Let's go all the way back to like high school. Where did you grow up?
Okay, I grew up in a small town of Indiana, Princeton, Indiana, which is the southern part of the state.
Right.
A little country boy.
So you're on the northern southern border there, kind of.
Yeah, like right on the Kentucky line.
Right. Okay.
Not far from that.
Yes, I get it. I'm from the Midwest too, and so I did that drive. I was stationed in Panama City, Florida at Tyndall when I was in the Air Force. And I don't remember which interstate goes north towards Michigan, but whatever that was, it's like you can tell, like right there at the Indiana-Kentucky line, that's like the line where it seems like you're moving more into the Midwest and leaving the influence of what you saw in the South, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that growing up or not, but it was
absolutely.
very distinct to me making that drive,
Yeah, that's interesting. I never had it pointed out that way, but it makes sense that you can definitely see that.
Yeah, you can see a big difference right there. I mean, that was like, okay, all right. Now things look more like they did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I actually knew one of my best friend from, all the way back to kindergarten or before. And one of his cousins was from Anderson, Indiana.
Yeah.
and her sister visited like every summer. So we always got stories of Anderson and Indiana. And, Indiana seems very much like Michigan to me. Right? I don't know, So talk a little bit about what it was like growing up in Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, growing up our house was in the middle of a cornfield, for crying out loud.
Oh, nice.
And
I
so,
love it. It sounds like we had similar childhoods.
I was the children of the corn. I bring that into perspective.
That's great. I remember the movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, life was good, very simple. My family all very close, and I was a very creative young man. I was always, mom would say, I had a wild imagination.
Fun.
And in high school, I wasn't one of those, and even in middle school and so forth, I wasn't one of those popular kids because, I didn't play sports. I was just kind of in my own world. I had friends, but most of my friends were at church and things like that. And so,
Sure.
As a young man, I fell in love with juggling, and I'm
nice.
And so it's different than basketball. It's different than baseball.
Yeah.
And so, there wasn't a lot of kids that was interested in those things, but I was very persistent in doing those, and I also did shows and entertainment. My skills progressed. I was doing some of this whenever I was just, my goodness, 6 years old. I started dabbling in it, and then so over the years, I started getting paid for it.
Holy
so that was my big draw, and so.
So you liked like the performance thing. You liked people looking at you. A bit of an attention hog. It sounds like you're just like me.
Yeah.
Did I nail it there? Did I nail it?
A little insecure little boy that just desperately needs attention.
Yes. I was that kid. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. I always love the stage, but it's interesting because when I'm off stage, I'm very much, and even still to this day, people are like, oh my gosh, Cody, you're. I can be very introverted in ways.
Sure.
And so, when I'm on the platform, my gosh, everything comes out and I just have a blast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as a young man, I was very persistent in pursuing that, and had a lot of opportunities, and when my skills grew, like I said, I was getting paid for it. And so that was my big thing. And I remained devoted to that.
That's awesome. So you were doing like juggling. What other sorts of performance did you get into? Did you do plays and musicals and dance? And what sorts of performance did you do? Because I was awful at dancing. I could kind of sing. I was kind of a bad actor, but not shy. I think that was in high school. If you were not shy, then, okay, you get up there, idiot. You sound like you were way better than me. I was just kind of floundering around.
Well, as far as dancing, I mean, I can dance in private, but I never was one of those guys that get out there on the dance floor and go crazy.
Right.
I was a little backwards, and I have to confess, I wore my pants that way sometimes too.
Yeah.
But life was good. I made the most of it, and my entertainment, that's something I really just found interesting. So as far as other venues and things, I did fair shows, and then after high school, I did some circus dates as well.
Oh,
now,
wow.
I never toured with the circus, although whenever I was in middle school, high school, there was definitely those opportunities to take that further and join a traveling show. But I kind of went a different direction, and I'm glad I did. I'm very thankful that I did.
Sure. Yeah. That is it's a fascinating topic. You just we could tangent on that whole world.
Man.
I'm the circus
a weird
and the carny kind of world. Wow. I mean, wow. The traveling show. It's like this pocket of another universe that's kind of scary and magical at the same time.
Oh my God.
Right?
Well, it's interesting because, hanging around some of the circus people, they hate being called, like there are those carnies, but there's that big thing of like, oh, they cannot seem to be called a carny because they're artists.
Right. It's completely different. It's two separate.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And so like when they hear carnies, they're like, oh, darn, I'm not one of those,
right.
Little freak show, sideshow things. But I don't know. I don't know where that came from. I just thought they were out there.
No. I think it's safe to say we both dodged a bullet there. I think, maybe not. Who knows?
I love them. God bless them.
Amen. So what did you do instead of doing that? Did you go to like some sort of school or college or go right into having a job?
Well, like I said, a lot of my friends were at church. And so I grew up in the church doing a lot of things. And even in the entertainment world, I spoke a lot not just in fairs and doing stuff, but I also had opportunities to speak at my church and use those skills to be able to teach others the lesson. And so after, high school, my talents had grown tremendously, and I'm not trying to sound boastful, but they had. And so I really wanted to hone in on the message. And so I went to a ministry school in
nice.
Rockford, Illinois, completed that. And then I took additional classes out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And then I got my pastoral credentials and became a children's pastor.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now that's a bit surprising. I didn't see that one coming. So that's great. I
know, right?
That's awesome.
I tell you, I've got all kinds of surprises.
That's great. That's why I like going back in time, because, if you just scratch the surface on the one sheet, it's, I've heard that show before. So so that's great. That's not on your one sheet. Okay. So what was that like? I mean, obviously you're not doing that anymore, but talk a little bit about, what was fun, what was what lit you up, what wasn't so fun, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, kids are a blast, and obviously with the skills that I had, it just it was a great icebreaker, way to grab them, bring their attention in. And so, it was natural for me. I really had a blast doing that. But, also being a children's pastor, I was very privileged to travel the country and speak at other kids' camps and a lot of children's events. And I did some of the circus events I was saying. And so, life was just going great. Young, traveling, active, and on my way to fulfilling that vision. Because, as a young man, I always had a vision to want to help people and bring hope to those around me. And, I was very passionate about that, whether I be entertaining or delivering a message. I was on that path to really make a difference. And, I had a dream of traveling the world. And, I didn't know exactly what it would look like, but I knew that was the goal, to travel the world and give hope to people.
Right. Now, did you ever have this sense, like, you remember the show, The Blues Brothers?
Oh, yeah.
And whenever they knocked on somebody's door, Dan Aykroyd said, "We're on a mission from God."
Yeah.
I've always felt like I've been on a mission from God. I don't tell people that, but I really do. I mean, it's like, it's almost as if I'm doing all these other things because I have to, and God's setting these things up for me. It's like, okay, no, you're going to need a wife, and you're going to need a house, and we'll take care of all these things. And then you'll have this job, and you'll be in the Air Force. But really, you're working for me.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's like this. Okay, all right. I don't know what's going on right now, but I've got to do what the boss says. Right. Have you ever had that kind of feeling was going on as an overall theme in your life?
Oh, of course. And
really?
I think that's really what keeps me going. I really believe there's a reason, every individual, no matter where you are, what your faith background is, I still believe, I say, if you have a heartbeat, there's a reason you're here today.
Yeah.
And I live by that, and that's what draws me. And so I really, I look at the time I have as a true gift to make a difference.
Right. That's awesome. So, okay. So you're working as the children's minister. Okay. So how did that wrap up? Did that take you all the way to when?
Well, that took me it was in 2013.
Okay.
And I was 23 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very young. And like I said, along with being a children's pastor, I was able to travel and do my juggling, and I did comedy as well. It just came with it.
Right.
So I had it was a Friday afternoon. It was on May 31st, 2013. I was in my church office that morning, and then I drove over to Vincennes, Indiana. Are you familiar with Vincennes?
No.
Okay. It is actually the city that Red Skelton, you know who Red Skelton is, right?
Yep.
It's where he grew up.
Wow.
And so in that community, they've always done some festivals and things to remember him. And they had built then it's still there today. They built a theater and a museum, and it's really cool. And so at the time, the museum was still being built, but they had this really nice theater, and it was in honor of Red Skelton. And so they did like a yearly event, an annual event, and they bring in entertainers and people to perform. give back to the community kind of thing. And so I had a meeting that Friday afternoon, a lunch meeting with the directors of the theater and they were partners, I guess, with the university. So they worked together. And so the meeting went great. I was so excited. The show was going to be the following weekend. I was driving back to my church office, and that would be the moment my entire life as I knew it would change. And yeah, we can.
Right.
I can dive down that avenue.
Yeah, for sure. Before we get into that, I want to just, I don't think I've ever talked about this on the show. So I'll just share briefly because it had like zero impact on my life. But I just want to bring it up because, it's almost like I have no idea why, but I was rear-ended in, what year was that? I don't know. Probably like 2012, because I had just finished, or I was getting ready to finish massage school, right? So I lived, this was in Southern California. So I was on the 101 up by, I guess, like in the Hollywood area, right? And I don't usually drive around there, so I wasn't really familiar with the freeway system. I was kind of on a new road for me because I think I was bringing another student, like a classmate, home, right? So, and then I was going to go home, and I got rear-ended on the freeway.
Wow.
Right. I think the difference between my accident and your accident was I was probably going 65 miles an hour when I got rear-ended. So my car was totaled, but I mean, I just basically had like a minor whiplash scenario. The guy that ran into me, his airbag went off and his face was smashed. Yeah. So it was like an explosion, right? I'm like, oh, what the hell happened? I thought my car blew up. Right. And, and then I look over to the side. I think it was on my right side, the passenger side of my car. And his car passed my car, and I saw him like leaned over. His airbag had deployed, and he was holding his hands on his face, and he was just full of blood, And then we both pull over, and I was fine. And then I talked to another guy because I drove Lyft for a while, so I was talking to everybody, right? And this guy had like the same accident, the same highway. And he was like almost died in traction, every bone in his body broken. And I'm like, how did I just walk away from that?
Yeah.
I literally just drove my car back to school and then called the tow truck and then went and got an x-ray and I was fine.
Wow.
I know. That's what I said. I was like, I could have been dead. How did that happen? What was going on? Anyway, so there's my question mark for the universe. Well, thanks. Thank you. How did that happen? But let's get into your story. So was there slow motion when you got, or did you just go like from bang to black?
Well, that's the interesting thing is the last thing I remember was driving.
Right.
I do not remember what would happen next.
Really?
And
wow.
It's all black still to this day. And I look at it as a blessing, really.
Yeah.
But it was about 3 weeks later.
What time of day was this? Was this like daytime, nighttime?
No, it was the afternoon. It was probably around the police report said 12:45.
Oh,
PM.
okay.
So it was in the afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so, but I wouldn't remember anything.
Full bright day.
Oh yeah. Afternoon. Wow. I was, on my way back at this, and I've traveled that road so many times, and it's actually not far from my house. I mean, well, I was stopped at a traffic light. I guess I should let the listeners in on what's kind of happening here.
Right.
And so, I everything goes black, and I don't wake up till 3 weeks later, and I'm in a hospital bed.
Holy cow.
It was crazy. So
3 weeks later. Wow.
3 weeks later. And
there was no time for you.
No.
It went from I'm driving to waking up and it's 3 weeks later.
3 weeks later, yeah. And I'm just in shock to see what is taking place.
Right.
And you just kind of, it was crazy. But the police report, and there was a lot of witnesses that day. what had happened is I was stopped at a red light on the highway, and it was Highway 41 there in southern Indiana.
Highway 41 that goes through my hometown in Michigan.
There you go.
That's awesome. Wow.
I live here I now live in Florida.
Yeah.
But there's, Highway 41. We can catch it right here. And
really?
Yeah.
I had no idea it went all the way down to Florida. Wow.
Oh yeah, man.
Wow. Okay.
It followed me.
Yeah.
But so I stopped at a red light and I was parked behind another van, and there was a refrigerator box truck. So a big truck.
Yeah.
That showed no signs of stopping.
2-tonners or 4-tonners or whatever. Yeah. They're big.
And so what happened is it didn't stop. And so on impact, it hit my vehicle. There was like a ripple effect. So it hit my vehicle, and the van in front of me went to one side of the intersection. Mine went through into an embankment. But on impact of the truck hitting my vehicle, it blew up into flames.
Oh, geez.
So my vehicle's a fireball, and there was a lot of first responders obviously, but a lot of witnesses that day that had seen it, and so they and I've even got to talk to a few of them since then, and they just were in shock. And I mean, you don't see something like that in a small town,
right?
So
yeah, it's all of a sudden they're all in a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're the only one. You're in it, and you're the only one that's not a witness. That's
yeah.
Wow. We're laughing about it now. Obviously, it's horrific.
I can now.
Right.
I have those days where I really do feel like I've been hit by a truck.
Sure.
So
you have been. So.
Yeah. So I was there, and obviously the first responders come, and they, by the looks of the wreck, they said it's a fatality. There's no way anybody is going to be able to survive this.
Wow.
And they had
you're assumed dead before they even see you.
Correct. They had called the coroner and everything.
Wow.
And so the van that was in front of me, there was a lady in there, and thank God she was okay. They was helping her because they knew she was alive.
This is the lady in the truck.
The van in front of me.
Oh, okay.
The man in the truck that was driving it, he was not injured. He was just fine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here I am, meanwhile, stuck in this vehicle. It's engulfed in flames, and I was in a Dodge Durango, and now it's kind of a bigger vehicle.
Dodge Durango is huge.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh.
So that's a serious impact.
Yes. And
wow.
The sheriff's the sheriff's
Too bad
department.
There's no video.
Oh, well, there's hundreds of pictures.
Oh, lots of pictures. Okay.
Yes. And if anyone wants to see them, I have some on my website, CodyByrns.com.
Cool. Yeah.
There's also videos and stuff out there that show some of the images. Okay. But just by the looks of, I could see where someone would call that out as a fatality.
Sure.
And so the Dodge Durango
you're on fire and you're crushed, right?
Oh yeah. And it was very much like an accordion. I mean, just very scrunched up. And my seat was the only seat in that thing that was left, and it was hardly even there itself.
Wow.
It was a very big hit, and so he was going every bit of 60, 65 miles per hour.
Right.
Here I am, complete stop, and there's a van in front of me. I'm just squished between the two.
Right.
So it was nuts, and so
you're like a bug on a windshield at this point.
Exactly.
On fire.
Yeah, very much so.
Wow.
Very much so. Yeesh. And they see my hand move, thank God, somehow or another. They on the steering wheel, there's actually images of my hand you can see on the steering wheel.
Right.
They saw it move, and so immediately they're just like, "Oh my gosh,
Jaws of life.
Yeah. This guy is alive."
Wow.
Change of plans. And so they did. They had to get the jaws of life out. It took them a good hour.
Well, they had to put out the fire.
Yeah, they had to get the fire out, obviously.
Right.
But they took them a good hour to get me out of that mess.
Call a helicopter, get you to a trauma center.
Exactly. Then they life flighted me.
Right.
And that was the only time I've been on a helicopter. And
you don't even know.
I don't even remember it.
Well, that's probably a good thing, because I've heard stories of helicopter pilots. And they've got this sick sense of humor that they want to make all passengers puke.
Oh my gosh!
So they couldn't do that to you. So
no, I was, my gosh. What's crazy is the first responders actually said I was talking to them, And I
Really? Wow.
I told them who I was, where I worked, everything.
Wow.
And that's how they was able to get in contact with my church office, and they had reached out to my family to let them know. But I don't remember a thing. And so they put me on the stretcher. I'm out of it, and I don't wake up until 3 weeks later.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
So when you wake up, though, go ahead.
Oh, I was say life, it changed drastically. You know, here I am. I'm waking up in the hospital, straight out of a coma off life support, and I hear my family, and, you know, I'm just kind of coming to reality. And, you know, my mom's there, and she says, you know, you've been severely burned in a car crash. 40% of my body was severely burnt down to bone and muscle. They had my face had second degree burns, which second degree burns, they don't scar, they heal up in a couple weeks.
Okay.
Then I had third degree, and I never in my life knew there was such a thing as a fourth degree burn. But they said I had them. They actually wanted to amputate 3 of my fingers, but luckily they were able to save them. They don't move like they used to, but you know, I make do.
Right.
I had also had broken vertebrae. I had torn ligaments.
Wow.
I mean, in the burn unit, I had a blood infection. I mean, everything that could have went bad went bad. It was hell.
And you were in a coma.
Yeah, and I'm in a coma. Yeah.
Wow.
My family had a definite roller coaster ride.
Right.
Through that experience.
So what sort of stories did you get from your family and the medical people? What was that? What were those 3 weeks like? What was that? I mean,
oh my goodness.
So you had ups and downs where they probably thought, oh, well, he's not going to make it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. They did. My family was there, you know.
You get the last rites guy in and do that just in case. I'm serious.
Yeah.
They do those things.
Yes.
I would.
Yeah. Mom and dad, they had to sign everything, you know, as far as we have to, they was left with no choice but to sign these things saying, all right.
Right.
You know, we can't guarantee what's going to happen. And my mom tells me the story of how she remembers the surgeon coming to her and saying, listen, there's a 50-50 chance. I had gotten a blood infection because the dead skin or the rotten,
it's not doing its job anymore. Right.
Yeah. It needed to be taken off. I also had lung damage. And so that was a very severe thing. And so the surgeon said, you know, we have his 50-50 chance. We either do the surgery, he survives, or we do the surgery and he dies.
Right.
And so,
but you needed the surgery.
It had to be, to be done.
Right.
My family says though, during one of the surgeries, they actually had to stop it because I guess my oxygen levels went so low that they seriously thought they was going to lose. So they had to stop everything. And they had shut down the entire burn unit floor. And instead of taking me to the operating room, they actually had to sanitize the room I was staying in and do the surgery there. They couldn't even move me.
Wow.
And so, I mean, you
were that close.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
And so they did like, I think 8 operations whenever I was out of it.
Really? In those 3 weeks, 8 operations.
I take that back. No, it's probably around 6, and they did 3 more whenever I was coming to.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I had. Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. It's hard to keep all those facts straight.
Oh my gosh, there's so much.
And you weren't even there. You know, you were there physically, right? But who knows where you were? You know, you were playing pool with Michelangelo or whatever.
Playing pool with Michelangelo.
Who knows? I could have said goofing on Elvis, but who knows? You know, it would be cool if you could get some of those memories back, if there were any, right?
Oh my gosh.
What were you doing for those 3 weeks? You had a party. You were hanging out with God, the angels, and I don't know. You're drinking beer. You were at a cosmic kegger.
I tell you, I was kicking back, relaxing. Who knows?
Who knows? We don't know. Okay, so all right, so now you've woken up, you've had all these surgeries, and now you've got to go. Okay, what is that like? That's got to be like. I mean, what are those first moments? I mean, I've had this sort of like. Have you ever just like passed out because you passed out? Have you ever done that?
I've passed out, but not just for no reason.
I have this thing where it's like a condition. It's like my dad has it, so I guess it's genetic. But my dad and I are a little bit more susceptible to just passing out because of this vagus nerve. It's a medical thing. I really don't understand it, but if we stand up too fast, or for me, I have a needle phobia. So whenever I get like a shot, I might pass out. Right.
Yeah.
So the first couple times that happened, where I just was like totally awake and then went from consciousness immediately to not conscious. The coming to sort of experience was like this: I'm somewhere else and I'm having a good time. Right. And then I slowly have this, like, I can see people in front of me saying stuff, and and I'm kind of seeing them coming into focus, but I'm looking at them as if they're not real. And then all of a sudden, oh, holy shit. Right? Did you have something like that? Like waking up from a dream almost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way. I mean, I was so highly medicated though. I mean,
right.
I had some very crazy hallucinations.
Really?
I mean, oh my word. I mean, to be honest with you, it took a couple weeks after coming off life support to fully kind of
you weren't all there.
Yeah. I remember quite a bit, but I don't remember everything until, as I started really, because I tell you, I mean, Mom she said, Cody said one time you said you seen naked Ethiopians. And I had seen flying hot dogs, and
wow,
I mean, just all kinds of yeah. Could you imagine that world?
So you were just kind of like doing a tour of the universe. Or the
I was
multiverse.
All while laying in that bed, I traveled the world.
You traveled the multiverse, buddy. You were in flying hot dog world. That's
there
amazing.
Was naked Ethiopians,
and flying hot dogs. I always called it cartoons on Channel Zero. That's all I can say was it was very pleasant. It was just pleasant. I was having a good time. Everything was okay. And then suddenly I'm back.
Yeah.
But I definitely had brief memories of doing something completely different that I sort of regretted being pulled away from. Anyway, so you're kind of in and out for how long did that go on? That sort of like here but not here, kind of like, oh shit, right? What's going on? That lasts like a week or so, or?
Yeah, it's probably a couple of weeks. I mean,
couple weeks. Okay.
Yeah, and so I was in the burn unit for 2.5 months in total, and like I said,
wow.
I had a few more surgeries after.
Right. So basically, you're kind of like having to grow back skin, right?
Oh yeah,
that's what's happening, right?
Yeah, because they're doing all kinds of skin grafts.
Right. People don't realize that your number one immunity barrier is your skin, and it's all one organ. And then when it's not there, you're in trouble.
Oh my gosh. It protects us from things. And I mean, they had wrapped me. Mom says one time they wrapped me in nothing, bleach bandages. I mean, just anything sterile that they were so cautious.
Sure.
It was amazing, really. It's incredible what the nurses and doctors have learned to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay. So now 3 weeks are up. And so what was it like coming out of the burn unit? That's got to be, I don't even know. Are you walking around yet, or are you just totally okay? So
yeah. So 2.5 months in the burn unit,
2.5 months. Wow.
Yeah, I hated. There's a whole bunch of interesting stories in between this time, but
please.
I hated.
This is great.
I hated being catheterized. And
right.
I mean, this is one of those
just
things.
Thoroughly uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. And, I remember my family coming to me and they said, Cody, if you don't start, peeing on your own, they're going to have to come in here and do that. And I just scared the crap out of me because I'm starting to be more aware of what's happening. Right. I mean, they had been doing it all along, but I'm just now understanding, oh my goodness, they're doing this to me. I said, well, if I could just stand up and go to the restroom, I said, I can do it. It's hard to, sometimes it's hard to pee when you're laying down. I don't know if anybody else has that trouble.
I tried.
As a child,
I tried.
As a child, you do it all the time.
Right.
As an adult.
But I think it's like this thing where you as a young child, I remember wetting my bed quite frequently. Right. And then you kind of want to like not do that anymore.
Exactly.
Because you want to be a grown up. Right.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have this ability to just be like all loosey goosey. Oh yeah, this is great. But but you kind of like you kind of turn that off. So yeah, I actually, have you ever heard of the Stadium Buddy?
No.
Stadium Buddy is basically like this bag that you can attach to yourself and then strap to your leg and then wear it to like a football game and then not have to go to the bathroom. You just kind of go in the bag.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't do it.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't do it. I tried.
That's...
I could do it if I went into the bathroom, into a stall and then just kind of let it go. Then I could do it. But I couldn't just be sitting there in the stadium and just let her rip. I tried.
That is so. It's just for people that just obviously don't want to get and go to the restroom. It's not for a medical condition. It's just they just
right. That's why they call it like they want it. They want to go have an event, and they know that event is going to be like these people that stand online to buy an iPhone or whatever. Right?
Oh my goodness!
They know there's not going to be a whole lot of facilities around, or if you've ever been to like a football game or something. If you want to drink a lot of beer, you're going to be going to the bathroom like every 5 minutes. So that's hence the Stadium Buddy. I could never make it work.
That's so comical, and
it's hilarious.
I'm like,
and utilitarian.
Yeah, I'm kind of got that's an actual thing. That's so weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. They did it on The Big Bang Theory. That's how I heard about it. Because they were waiting in line at some sort of geek festival or to see a Star Wars premiere or something, and one of them had it on. I was like, "Oh my! Is that a real thing?" So I went out and bought one. Yeah, didn't work, but so I get it. It's hard to pee lying down. Sorry, that was a tangent we didn't need, but go on.
Yeah, now our viewers have more information, or they know. So I told him, I said, well, if I can just stand up and go, and I'll be fine. And they're like, Cody, you cannot walk. And I was like, you ain't going to tell me I can't walk. And so I was bound determined to prove them wrong. And so they come in there, and the therapists, they all helped me get up on my side. And I tell you, it was hell. It hurt so bad. And so I'm sitting there on the side of my bed, and like I try
every
to stand.
Every move is just like the worst pain ever.
I'm wrapped in bandages. To create the image, I'm like a mummy, and I've got a neck brace on.
Yeah.
My fingers have pins in them.
You've got broken bones too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just all out of whack. And this is the first time I try to get up out of the bed.
Interaction.
Oh my word. Yes. And so I tried to get up and use the restroom, and I couldn't. And so that was the moment I was like, oh my gosh, my recovery is going to be a lot longer than what I thought.
Right.
And so they had knew it, but it was just one of those things that kind of just dawned on me. I'm like, oh, wow.
This is going to be a while. This is going to be my life take some time. For a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they had taken me to an in-stay rehabilitation center, after leaving the burn unit, where I had to relearn to walk and use my hands, use the restroom on my own again, all the basics.
Right. Wow.
And so that took a lot of time.
So, all right. How long were you? Okay, so you get 2.5 months in the burn unit.
Yeah.
And then how long were you in rehab?
It was another 6 weeks. And then I did, that was in stay, where I'm constantly being monitored by doctors and nurses, another set of doctors and nurses.
Right. And you're getting a little bit more mobile at that point.
Yeah, slowly but surely. And then I had outpatient therapy.
Right.
Where that was every day for so many weeks. And then it would be, weekly, and, gradually work its way out. And then I was able to transition, because all during this time I'm up in Indianapolis.
Okay.
Which is about a 2.5-hour drive from Princeton.
Okay.
So it took a little bit before I can go back to my hometown. Eventually I was able to transition back home, find a rehab center there,
right,
and continue my treatments.
Wow.
And just, like monthly, go up to the burn unit and get checked. So it got better over time, but it took a good 3 years of nonstop surgeries and rehab.
Say that again. Say that again. 3 years?
3 years. It was crazy.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's crazy. So that just becomes your job and your life, basically.
Yeah.
Getting better.
Yeah. Getting better. And
getting better a little bit every day. That's got to be challenging.
It was very challenging, but I will say the community and, back to, about my job and, that was, they wanted me to come back. They really had, they said, we would love to have Pastor Cody come back. And I mean, all the kids, they were praying. I had kids from all around the world that were sending me cards, get well cards. And it was just amazing, the outpouring that really took place. My community was very strong and just committed to helping me and my family. And that meant so much. But, it was about 2014. And I just seen that, things were still it was taking a lot of time. And so I was like, it's probably best that I go ahead and step down. And so that was whenever the transition ended. And so since that time, I've kind of been doing my own thing, first of all, recovering.
Right.
And then I kind of transitioned into what I'm doing now.
I get it. I'm curious about what sort of emotions you were going through. Where were you emotionally? This is one of my favorite new questions. When you go through these traumas and these, there's sort of like the expected sort of emotions. You go through this regret and like fear, right? That's big. What was the most surprising emotion to you that you had to deal with and process? Yeah, please think about it.
That's a good question. As far as it's like surprising to myself. I mean, I had those moments where you just wonder, why did I survive?
Okay.
I did encounter depression.
Depression, right?
And and you just wonder why, and your faith is tested during those times. And it's only normal.
Of course,
I'm human, and so I had many nights where I'm just thinking, here I am. All I wanted to do in my life was to make a positive difference. And, here I am. I'm a children's pastor, encouraging children, entertaining and doing, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here I'm not doing anything wrong. I try to live life right. And I have a vision. I'm going after it. And then I get hit. And so now all hell has broken loose in my life, and it's hard to get back up. And to transition back into what I was doing, it was so difficult. And you just have those dark moments. You're like, not suicidal,
okay.
But you just there were those moments where you just almost wish that you would have went in that wreck. You had those because it was so hard to recover. It was
just so hard. Okay.
Yes.
So what was the hardest part? Was the physical pain? Or it just took a lot of, I don't even know what you'd call it, like determination, grit, that kind of thing to like suffer? Or did you feel like you were suffering a lot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was physically a lot of suffering and pain. Burn injuries are
painful.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Right. You didn't know there was that much pain in the universe.
I did not, and I tell you, it hurts like crazy.
Okay,
and even and it's not just the initial injury, because when you're, now I don't remember my injury, but I hear stories from other survivors, and they remember, and so after so long, after third degree, it starts getting into your nerves, and you lose all sense of feeling. Wow. But a lot of the pain happens, after the fact, as you're recovering,
right?
And your nerves, that some of them will heal up, but a lot of them won't.
Right.
You have these skin grafts, and this skin contracts, it tightens up, and then you have the emotional part of it. Okay, here I am. I'm no longer, and I dealt with this too in the rehab. Here I was at one time. I was 23, healthy young man. And then next moment, here I am, I'm mangled. And I remember that because the nurses, they brought in a whole full-size body mirror. Because I told them, I said, I want to see my whole body. I could only see my arms and my hands because I wasn't walking.
Right.
But I had my injuries extended to my legs, my feet, my lower back.
Everything.
Yeah. And not everything, thank God. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. You catch my drift.
I do.
I am still that right there. Is that too much information?
No, not at all.
I am so,
no,
but people ask,
not on
surprised.
Vroom Veer. It's awesome. Thank you.
People ask about that. Some people are just really, really nosy and they're weird.
Everybody's curious, morbidly so. I know.
very, very fortunate. And
I wasn't going there, but thanks for sharing.
Well, yeah. now that I drove us there.
That's all good.
So what was I talking about? Oh, my injuries, my scars. And so here I am. They bring in this full body mirror and I stand up with their help. And I just seen the scars and the impact that these injuries had. And it was traumatizing.
Right.
And so, burn survivors, it's the pain afterwards. Because now I have to deal with a society looking at my scars, getting the stares, my emotional support, trying to get back the mobility and the way I was doing in life. And it's tough. I mean, it is very tough. I think the pain afterwards and the emotional was the most difficult to deal with.
And what was your relationship with God, and how did that help and or change? Talk about that. Were you praying while you were there, and were you having sort of like these conversations with God?
Yes. And I was all over the place as far as emotional. One moment I'm thanking God that I survived.
Right,
the next moment I'm wondering, why did you not take me, God?
Right.
And then
I've heard this before.
Oh, I mean, you're just all over the place. And one moment you're crying, the next moment you're angry.
You're kind of angry is like some of the things that get lost. Because it's almost like you're feeling like Job. Right? You're feeling a little Joby. It's like, what'd I do to you?
Exactly.
I thought we were on the same team here,
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, it was tough, but I will say my faith played a very significant role in getting me to where I am today. And it still is a very important part of my life. I don't profess to be a perfect man, but
Nobody's perfect.
Believe I do believe that there's a God. And I tell you, having good mentors, and I talked with this, there was this pastor in Illinois. He connected me to this speaker that has been around for years. He served in Vietnam. He's a burn survivor, and he was a sniper, had blown up a hand grenade as he was about to throw it. And so his entire upper body is burned, his face, he's got fingers amputated. And so for years, he tells the story. I got to talk to him over the phone. He told me the story of he was doing a TV interview. And the lady who asked him, she said, "You know why God allowed this to happen to you?" And at the time, he said, it frustrated me. He said, "Oh, I was so mad why she had asked me such a stupid question." And he was so he was battling back and forth, I guess, at the time with God. And he said, "No, I don't know why. Why? Why? Tell me, please." And she said that, God did not do this to you, but he allowed it to happen because he could trust you with the scars. And that statement changed his entire life.
Wow.
And
that's a really good answer.
It changed everything for him. Wow. The man's Dave Reaver, and he's this incredible speaker, and I'm highly honored to have him as a mentor. I look up to the man, but that changed his life and the perspective. And so really, as my faith, it allowed me to dive in deeper. Yeah. And in the Christian world, we would call it apologetics. To understand why bad things happen in this world. And I mean, theologically, it can get pretty deep. But as a result, I have actually grown very strong in my faith, and I'm stronger on this side. So.
For sure. I mean, you went through it. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I have to think like I've never been through that level of trauma, physical trauma. But we all have our own path and our own challenges, Yeah. And so I went through all sorts of depression. I did 2 suicide attempts. 2. Yeah, 2. Wow. Survived both of those, right? We don't have to get into the gory details, but on the other side of them, I think there are lessons that come out of there that I think now that's your new mission, right? This is almost like the whole deal is to make the Cody that's now, right? To prepare you with your, badges of honor, if you want to say, right? Your scars to come and be the new you, the reborn version of the Cody Byrns. Perfect name, by the way.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right? Wow.
So ironic.
I know. It's scary. I was thinking maybe it's not Byrns, but that's why I asked, how do you pronounce your name? Byrns. I'm like, wow, that's a little on the nose, as they would say.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it's spelled Byrns.
Right.
But
So it
so I don't know.
could have gone other ways. Right. It could have been
Yeah,
Byrns.
but
Right.
it's Byrns. Sure
It's
enough.
Byrns. Wow. That's crazy. Just it's such a fascinating story. So let's talk about now how you use your story to help people get through their stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think it was natural because I was already operating on that side of encouraging people, and I'd spoken to adults, families, but more specifically, my target audience was children.
Right.
And so since all this has happened, it has really expanded that audience. I've done some kids events, but really that's my audience now. It's more young adults and adults.
Sure.
And it's, I'm also, like I mentioned at the beginning, I'm transitioning not from just the church world, but into the corporate market.
Right.
And really looking into other ways to make a difference and to encourage and motivate people. And so, it was only normal for me to go that direction. And so I had a lot of great mentors, and, I worked hard as far as juggling and trying to regain that back because, my fingers were severely damaged. I can't juggle like I used to, but I make the most of what I can do.
Sure.
I use it as a way to break the ice with the audience, same way I did with the kids. It draws them in. Adults are often very similar to children. The attention span, it goes away quick. And so, and I share my story, and I find those lessons that I've learned through my experience that everybody can apply to their life, and whether it be in their personal lives or their business life, whatever it may be. And so, I slowly just started, speaking in churches and expanding my way out. And, last year I released my first book, and I had everybody say, Cody, you need to write a book. And so,
Definitely
I'll take you up on that. And so it took me about a good year to get everything kind of produced, maybe a year and a half, and released it. And so far it's had a great I've had a lot of great feedback. And so it's kind of it's slowly taken off from there. I mean, because I'm only 6 years out from the wreck, but a lot of stuff has happened since that time, and it's just been incredible. And it all came with me. Like I talk about the steps of keeping the vision in the midst of challenges. Whenever I was in the hospital, my mother's there, and that I'll never forget it. That is one thing she told me. She said, Cody, don't lose sight of your vision, because she knew how important that vision was to me. But yet then again, she also knew and understood that I had every right to give up and play the victim. And, there's so many people in today's world, they may have every right to become the victim. But my mom believed that there was something greater on the other side for her son. And that stuck with me. And so she encouraged me. And yes, I was depressed. I had my moments. But through it all, the encouragement from the community, from my mentors, from my family, I was able to move on. And so I talk about the 4 steps to keep the vision. Embrace your current reality. Take control of your reality. Trust the process and be persistent and be confidently you. And in each one of those steps, I mean, there's so many things I could break down.
Right.
But it's so far, they have worked out great for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I always think of, did you see the movie? Now I can't remember the name of the movie. It's the one about Stephen Hawking's when he was in college.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that.
Right. So, I didn't know that. So there's so many things that parallel kind of like your story, right? Where it's like most people that get ALS like he had, they don't live. They don't, right? They're because ALS, it shuts your body down, right? But his attitude was, okay, this is life now. What can I do? Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. And it's like, okay, all right. I got to work on, standing before I can pee. Standing up, right? That's where I am now. And I think so much in life is all about stop arguing with what is. So many people are constantly wasting time arguing with reality. Does that make sense?
It's so true.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, if the situation just weren't this, I could, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is.
That's right. There's no changing it.
Right. So,
there's no, and I always tell people this, there is no changing what happened yesterday.
right.
But we can change what we do today.
Yeah.
And that's the greatest of it all. I can't hit the rewind button as many times as I've thought, I wish I could just go back to that day and get in another lane.
Yeah, you can just right.
I can't do it.
There are no time machines now.
No.
Not now. There might be tomorrow, but not now.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, wow, that's amazing. It's an amazing story. So just go through those steps just briefly, because I had comments, but I lost them because I was yammering too much. What did you say step 1 was?
Yeah, embrace your current reality.
That's what we were just talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So embrace your current reality, I think, is so important. That whole don't argue with what is. I think the first time I heard that, I was like, wow, that's it's so simple. Embrace the current reality. It's like,
yeah, it is.
Right. Yeah. So that made me think of that Stephen Hawking's comment. So what's step 2?
Yeah, step 2 is take control of your reality, and the
what can I do, right?
Yeah, what can I do from this point forward? What am I going to do with my life?
Right,
can't change the past. I can change my today. So what am I going to do? And so gaining that fresh perspective, and also through that I had to learn to see my scars as a blessing. Understand that I control my scars, so the scars don't control me. I'm in control of my life. Take responsibility from this moment forward. Forgive.
Take responsibility. That's huge.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. It sounds
right.
You have to own it. And it sounds so simple. I heard one mentor say, it's like common sense, but common sense is often not common practice. And so it's just,
the thing is God is, and life and universe. You don't have to believe in God, but life, if you want to go that way, is always presenting you with a challenge, whatever that is. Even if it's a challenge that you've done a million times, it's your days. It's your today, right? And sometimes it's routine, and sometimes it's completely novel and new. And you always have free will.
Yes.
To deal with it as you will, right? Now you can go, and why me, and no, right? And you can do that. Maybe you need to do that, because I think what you're trying to do is say, like I can't pee lying down. Okay. So I need to stand up to do that. Right. So the vision is pee standing up. Right. But you can't do that right away. So you have to ask yourself, what can I do? Well, the intermediate goal would be stand up with help. Right. Can't do that either. So what can I do? I can lay down and try to heal.
That's right.
Yes, that's what I can. Once you get to that, what I can do today, work on that, and then move to the next step. I think we're always trying to skip to the end of the book a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
We just want the vision to be done and easy.
Instant results.
Yes. It doesn't work that way, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I wish it did. But if it were, we wouldn't learn anything.
You wouldn't grow.
Yeah, you wouldn't. And that's the greatest thing, as a result of all this, I will say that 6 years later, I'm actually very thankful that I encountered this experience, because it allowed me to grow in ways that I never would have had. And it's allowed me to reach and help people, a whole new audience that I never would have had the opportunity to if this hadn't happened. And so it's been very incredible. So that change of perspective is huge. It's very huge.
Now, have you come to the point where you see the whole experience as a gift?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Yes.
How long did it take you to get to that point? Because that's huge. It's huge.
30 minutes ago.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
No, I would say a couple years back, I
Okay.
just
You were
when
like,
you start
wow,
when
this
you
was
really
really a gift. Yeah.
yeah, when you start seeing the impact you're making on other people's lives
Mm-hmm.
and the difference you're making, and the smiles and like you hear the stories that people have encountered, those that were suicidal, those that went through so many traumatic experiences in their life, but because of my story, they have decided to keep going. That right there is powerful, and that makes my life worth living, because I'm making a difference, something that's bigger than myself, and that's what I've always wanted. I
Yeah.
wanted to bring hope to people,
And you want
and
to serve your mission.
exactly,
You want to do
and
your job.
that's what keeps me going.
That
And
purpose. Yeah.
yes,
The as we wrap up here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how people can get in touch with Cody at codybyrns.com. But the other thing I wanted to say is whenever I have those why me moments now, and this comes from my journey. Obviously, I didn't start out here. I'm 50 years old. So I had plenty of whiny kind of woe is me sort of like, oh my God, I just want to die, right?
yeah.
We all go through that for a reason, though. And now when I have a setback or I get angry at God, the universe, whatever, after I get over my little temper tantrum, which I think is important. You can't not have that emotion. You have to go through it. You can't deny it, right? It's part of the reality of the situation. I'm pissed right now about whatever, right? Go through that, have that emotion, process it. And then I ask myself, now, why would I sign up for this? Because I have this belief that God and I and my angels and guides and, academic advisors pre-birth, we all had this like meeting about what I want to do this life. And then I would be like, whoa, do I really want to sign up for that? That sounds like graduate work level there stuff. I don't know if I want to sign up for that. Suicide? Really? I want to do that. And all these, like you, is like, you really want me to go through that? Right. And then you have to say, okay, all right. Yeah. All right. Cause what's on the other side of it, if you survive and if you make the right choice, cause you could have easily died. You could have easily, got depressed and become suicidal and not made it through. You might have, there, all of those things could have happened, right?
Yeah.
They didn't. You made it through, right? Have you ever had that idea that I may have signed up for this before I got here? It's a novel idea, so don't feel bad if you haven't.
Yeah. I don't know if it's something I'd signed up for. I just think, it's one of those things. I believe God knows our future.
Sure,
and
of course.
I believe he knew it was going to happen, but he also knew the outcome that it would produce. And ultimately, no matter what, I still had the free will to make my own decision and choose what I wanted to do with my life. And somehow or another, I believe he for whatever the reason I'm here. And, you have those days, why did I survive and so didn't? Or vice versa. I mean, there's people that do horrible things. They're what we in society would say, oh, they're doing all this crime and doing all these, all this crazy stuff, and they encounter something horrible and they survive. And this good person over here, he doesn't survive.
Right.
And so there's all kinds of things we don't understand. But I don't know. I for some reason I'm here, and I'm grateful and I'm very thankful. Because I see what it's providing to others. And so as far as signing up for it, I don't know if I would have signed up for it but I think, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one.
No, that's fine. I think, I don't know many people that have this sort of, to me, it's like a spiritual sort of, experiment or just like a thought experiment with a spiritual impact. And it allows me to, I've always wanted to have some way in my mind to have 100% accountability, responsibility for my entire life experience. So if I've signed up for it, I can't whine about it.
I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only reason I'm not claiming that's true, right? I'm just saying it helps me accept responsibility, right? So when a seemingly bad thing happens to me that I moan about and get upset about and argue with reality about, because I still do it, then I say, but I believe everything that happened to me, I signed up for. So why would I? So that it just makes me ask that question. Why would I sign up for this? And the answer is inevitably because there's something better on the other side.
That's it.
Right. That's why I do that. So whether or not that's helpful for you, I don't really care. It works for me.
No, I think it's powerful, and it's a shift in perspective. I mean,
that's it.
We are in control of our today.
Right.
Our choices, our lifestyle, our happiness.
Maybe not the whole day.
All a choice.
But each moment as it happens.
Each moment.
Yes. This has been a blast, Cody. This hour just flew by. So thank you. This has been a lot of fun. So talk a little bit more about CodyByrns.com and how people can best connect with you.
Yeah, there's CodyByrns.com, CodyByrns, and specifically for this podcast, it's CodyByrns.com/VVV. So my web guys, they made a page specifically for this audience.
Awesome.
So it's kind of cool. But on my website, I'm on my social media outlets are all in there connected. My book is called Scar Release: Breaking Free of Yesterday's Troubles. It's available on Amazon. You get the printed or the ebook. And I will also be having a podcast of my own startup this fall. September 1st is the date we're looking at. Show Me Your Scars, interviewing other individuals who encountered traumatic events, how they got through it. And so all of that information will be accessible on my website. It should take you to all that.
Perfect. Cody, this has been a blast. I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate you having me, man. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Thank you, buddy. You too.
Thanks for taking the time to ride along with us on another episode of Vroom Vroom Veer. For podcast info and show notes, be sure to head over to vvveer.com. That's VVER.com. Man, that's fun to say. And we'll catch up with you next time here on Vroom Vroom Veer.